And here I'm going to go to the channel, right? Here the radio is connected to the NVR via physical connection. Is it done? I'm going to check here on the channel. I'm going to do what I need to do. The camera's IP, which I already know, you should know in advance. And I'm going to enter the password here, right? And let's wait. It's going to process the communication. It's ugly. Hello freelancers, welcome to my channel. In this lesson, you will learn in a simple, practical and objective way how to configure a radio for CCTV. I'm talking about these two radios here. They are two radios from the brand Dawa, and we are going to learn how to configure them step by step in this lesson. If you want to learn, keep watching. Before we start configuring the radio for CCTV, there are some elements we need to take into account. Some very important elements that we need to know in advance. We need to know that radios transmit signals through electromagnetic waves. And when configuring the camera, we should choose the bridge mode. It's as if it were a cable that connects directly from one radio to the other to ensure a good connection. What is station and what is AP? On which side should the station be and on which side should the AP be? Is the AP saying that I access a lot? Let's set up the radio configurations like access, bridge, which will distribute the signal and the station. Here, this radio that's on the camera can be set as a station or as a client and will receive the wireless signal from the access point. The bridge that we're going to create will allow us to connect our station radio here, the radio. Imagine, for example, your phone when you want to connect to a Wi-Fi network, a wireless internet network. That's the connection your phone will make to the router. So that's an example of what we're going to create here. We are creating our own network. This here is the server radio. It's the main radio, which will broadcast the signal for the other devices to receive. There's also another element you need to keep in mind before you start working with radios. For CCTV, you need to know that there are two main frequencies, which are the 5 gigahertz frequency and the 2.4 gigahertz frequency. The 5 gigahertz frequency is the one with greater bandwidth and more channels. The 2.4 gigahertz frequency has a longer range compared to the 5 gigahertz frequency. That's why the 2.4 gigahertz frequency is better for transmission and dealing with obstacles. It's a place where the warehouse has many walls, many trees. The 2.4 gigahertz frequency has a greater chance of transmission. Obstacles, breaking through barriers, that's a simple way to put it. That's it, breaking through barriers. But the 2.4 gigahertz frequency has a major disadvantage. Most of the devices here use this frequency. I'm talking about computers, phones, microwaves. The chance of interference is higher. Now, the 5 gigahertz frequency, the professional frequency, as a technician on large projects, we should use this frequency because it has less interference. And these household devices don't use this frequency. So that's the big advantage. And there's another element we should also take into account, is knowing how to differentiate the channel we're going to use. On radios, we can set up an automatic channel, but it's essential that you set the channel manually when choosing the channel. Automatically, we're saying that the channel is linked to the speed, which is in megabits. On cameras, we'll have the speed on the cameras. The speed, which is measured in megabits or kilobits through the bit rate. Through this bitrate, it will be formed, but there are other elements that are closely related to speed. Or with the camera stream, which will transmit relative to the bandwidth, which is what? The FPS, the camera's resolution, will matter a lot. So to be more precise and to understand better, let's suppose we have this camera here, which has 5 megabits of bandwidth. If I choose a channel, for example, if I pick channel 20, I already know that channel 20 is approximately 100 megabits. So I need to know how many cameras I'm going to use. 20, 10, 30 cameras. How many megabits will that give me? If it goes up to 100 megabits, but we must take the safety margin into account. For example, only use a number of cameras that reaches up to 100 megabits. I need to allow for a safety margin, reducing the number of cameras to work with up to 80 megabits worth of cameras. And the remaining 20 are the safety margin, so that we can then implement a more secure project. There are two main actions and positions for the radio. We are talking about point-to-point and multi-point. What is point-to-point? Point-to-point is where two radios have the same line of sight. For example, this radio here, which is the AP, is next to the server, which is here. The bus, the NVR, will receive the images from this antenna and will connect directly with a clear line of sight between them. This is point-to-point, multipoint. Multipoint is when we have a central radio and several radios acting as clients. We will configure these various radios as clients that will point to the server. All the radios will point to the server to send their streaming, and the server will receive and forward it. So here in the NVR, we define according to each channel. Now let's go to our PC screen so we can see how it works. In practice, the first step you need to take as a technician is to check the radio you are using. I already know that you are using a different radio from this PC. And to be able to, when communicating with the radio, sometimes you need to change the IP of our computer to have effective communication. In other words, the radios, that is to say, the wireless radios themselves, do not actually use the same IP address range. And also, just to clarify things further here, the specific radio IP addresses can be entirely different from those of the camera and the NVR. It is important to note that the NVR, the camera, and the other NVR can indeed all be on the same network range. And the radio is also on another range, because here the radio is behaving as if it were a cable. On this radio, we can transmit internet, VoIP signal. It will depend on the signal. Communication is always possible. So let's open our application here. Let's enter the range we changed, which is range 1, and let's do a check. Here we find the radio's IP here, the IP10 here, which is the station, and the IP36, which is the client. Let's access them. Here the browser opened. To begin the configuration process, let's first navigate over to the station settings menu. Once you are there, we will start by entering the specific IP address, which is AP1.10, into the designated field, and then go ahead and hit the enter key on your keyboard. After the page loads, you will need to provide the login credentials by typing admin into the username box and admin into the password field to gain access. Again, let's enter the password and log in. So the first step we're going to take, configuring the station, is to go here to settings. Here in settings, let's go to network. We need to activate the mode here. This router has bridge mode. Let's activate bridge mode. This is the correct configuration so that it works as if it were a cable. We can go here to wireless. Let's set the type we're going to use. This will be the access point. We can use this option. If it's the station, it will be here as station, here access point. We use this option and we'll set the channel here. Set it. The channel, which is channel 6, which is 2437 megahertz, corresponds to 2.4 gigahertz. We select it. The type of operation is set, which is access point TDMA3. We set the channel, and we've also already set the bridge here. If we want to change the IP, we can change the IP from here. It's okay, and now let's create the access point network. And here I already have one created, but we can look at it as an example. I'll click here and I can change it. You can put here link. You can find the link to the YouTube video right here. First, let's look at the YouTube link, specifically the YouTube network settings. I'm going to look at the security mode settings. There are several different options available, but just as an example, let's select the WPA2 Personal Security Protocol. And now I'm going to enter the password right here. Click the OK button, then confirm by clicking OK once more, and you will see it change here. I'll save these settings now. We've successfully configured the access point. OK, the configuration has completed successfully. You can see here that there are currently 0 stations because we haven't connected any devices yet. And here it shows none since we just changed the settings. Now I'm going to connect the client device, which is the station. So let's process our station configuration here. Let's access the admin panel to check the text we created here in the settings menu. In the settings, we're in the network section. We already know it's in the same IP range, and we can set the access point's IP address as the gateway. This is also good for ensuring a better connection. So what interests us here is this specific bridge mode. Here in the wireless communication section, let's select the channel, which is channel 20. the exact same channel the access point is using and the operation mode. It can't be the access point. It has to be the station mode that we select, which is option number 3. Here, it can access in 3 different modes: WDS, TDMA2, and TDMA3. Let's click OK. So we've configured it, and what are we going to do now? It's still configured in that link system. Let's click here and look for our specific network. Click it and it will begin scanning the area. It has now finished scanning and successfully found the YouTube network, which in this case is our access point. Let's select the one we want and enter the security password. After entering the password, let's click Done. Okay, it is now enabled. After that is finished, let us save all of these configuration settings right here. It is done. Now, let us disconnect the client, which is the station. We can now connect it directly to the camera. Let us check the AP, the access point, on the PC once again to make sure it really found the client. If we look right here, there is already a station found. If we look at the information provided here, it is radio wireless. This is the station that has the AP36. The configuration is now finished. The point-to-point setup is completely finished. And now I am simply going to take this cable and connect it right here to the network. Now let's take a look right here at the network setup, specifically focusing on the access point. This AP is the critical component that will receive all the incoming information from this camera to successfully transmit it over to the network. What you absolutely need to do beforehand is ensure that you already know exactly what the IP address of your camera is. And you should also definitely know the specific password for your camera to perform a standard normal configuration. Okay, so at this point, I'll go ahead and navigate over to the channel settings, right? Here is the camera we are working with, and here is the AP radio unit. It is currently connected directly to the NVR, so the physical connection is already fully completed. I'll go into the channel menu right here, and what exactly am I going to do next? I'll manually enter the camera's IP address, which I already happen to know. And as I mentioned, you really should make sure to know it in advance, and then I'll carefully enter the password right here, okay? Then we will save these settings. It will take a moment to process. It has finished processing now. The communication is successfully established, and there we have it, regardless of the specific circumstances. The radio distance, whether it's 20 kilometers, 15 kilometers, or 1 kilometer, we will have the signal. Now, if you want to learn from scratch, step by step, I have a course on Udemy, a training program that I created. Just click the link in the description that I'll leave in this video so you can learn and take it to another level. You already know that I'm a very experienced instructor. I love to learn and I love to teach.